I am back from visiting Seffy Fluff. Now let's get back to Apollo Justice. Where were we? October 8th, 1:24 p.m. Game is very loud. Hold on. There we go. Okay. Where exactly does this leave us, Apollo? Well, the Drew Measham who was killed wasn't Drew Measham the Forger, basically. Well, then who was he? Well, he was actually doing her nails. So, you really made those forgeries? Yes, Father. I know it was wrong. You can tell us how it happened? My father was a painter. I loved painting ever since I was a child. Jesus, this game is so loud. One day, Father saw it in me. He saw that I had the talent. Talent? For making forgeries? How should I say it? It was not only what paintings I made. Given the materials, I could make anything. Anything? Father was so proud and I so happy. But in the end, I was making those forgery. I've never had a good constitution nor personality. I know very little of the world outside my door. Now, because of me, Father is... You know about this red envelope? I remember that envelope. It was some time ago. So you were already you were already creating your works back then? I started when I was only 12 years old. The one who figured out the stamp was poison? That was... Mr. Justice, it's time. To the courtroom, please. Right. Out of time. Wait, Vera. Just one more thing, please. Those 3 paintings in the studio. I painted those as part of my work. Right. See, we checked them and out when we saw what was underneath. We saw the rough sketches underneath the 3 finished paintings. I see. Mr. Justice? Yeah? Father, he knew of you. Of both of you. You're late, Father? He was watching, gathering information. All about the Wright and Care law offices. But lately we're not doing just law. Yes, you do tricks, gags to amuse, and play piano. But they're not really gags. Yet when Father heard you had resumed the legal business, how pleased he was. Who was Mr. Measham? How am I supposed to know? What if he was Daddy's daddy? Judging from the relative ages involved, I'd say it's highly unlikely. These are already confusing enough with all these daddies running around. You know that the victim's daughter, Vera, was the forger. What does this mean for the case? Guess we're about to find out. 1 second. Damn Zelda sounds. Oh boy. Computer. There you go. Court is now back in session. Vera seems pretty tense. She's practically chewing her fingernails clean off. Perhaps you could tell us begin by telling us how it all worked. How did you set up this Drew Measham forger persona? There's that stare again. She's drilling more holes into his head. I know it's hard for you, but hey, he's a handsome guy. What's hard? Very well, miss. If you would, did you really make those detestable forgeries? Perhaps you'd rather answer my question. Were you the one who painted the painting? The remarkably similar one? Yes. I painted it, yes. Father praised me quite highly for it. So, she was the one who made the forgeries. Yet she did not wish to reveal the truth of their operation. So the victim was a stand-in, a decoy. To the world at large, he was the forger, not her. I've done a bad thing. I have, haven't I? Regardless, we need a little more information. About, for instance, this. You have seen this before, yeah? Yes. It was in the desk drawer. Very well, you may proceed with your testimony. Tell us everything you know about this envelope. The red envelope. I created things and Father sold them. This envelope came after my first work. That was other than a painting. Father handled the deal, all of it. I received the stamp that was in that envelope. It was after that job that we moved to the current studio. There certainly was a much great interest in your testimony. Not that the witness realizes it. Very well, please begin the cross-examination. Right, okay. I need more information about this forger. This Drew Measham. The red envelope. Press all the things. So these things you were making, you mean paintings identical to other paintings, right? The closer they were, the happier Father was. I was happy too. Still, you're quite young now. When did you begin this work? My first painting sold when I was 12. Your Honor, she had no idea what she was doing was illegal. Easy there, little attorney. You're not here to defend her for the crime of forgery. True. Please tell us more about this envelope. This envelope that may very well have killed your father. This envelope came after my first work that was other than a painting. By other than a painting, you mean you'd only done paintings up to that point? Yes. But Father had a realization. He noticed my talent extended to making things other than paintings. For instance, a letter to someone had written, or a fingerprint left upon a cup, or a signature on a document, a seal upon a letter. This makes her sound very innocent at all. And the $100,000 promised in this letter was the start. The beginning of a new industry for Drew Measham. A new industry? The creation of items to be used in criminal proceedings. Forging evidence, in other words. Uh-oh. Father handled the deal, all of it. We don't need to know about that. I received the stamp that was in the envelope. do you mean you received it? Did I do something wrong? You didn't use that stamp because it was dangerous, correct? Deadly poison in the bag, and triquinine. A moment, Forehead. You can't force an answer upon the witness. Now then, perhaps, you would tell me, Fräulein Vera? Why did you receive this stamp? Is something wrong? It was beautiful. Ah, you mean it was one of those commemorative stamps? Yes, I think it was. So, you didn't know about the poison? Guess not. So the trap failed by chance, by mistake, thanks to this commemorative stamp. Quite the close call. It was after that job we moved to the current studio. You mean you moved there? You moved to where the current Drew studio is? Yes, we saw very few people there. I began drawing picture books. This single job had tied them to the criminal underworld. I think Mr. Measham would have wished to reduce their visibility into the world at large. When we had to meet someone for the someone reason, Father poses the creator of the work. That was the real essence of the artist, Drew Measham. You did the work, he supplied the face. So, you really didn't know anything, did you? You had no idea how much danger you were in. Apparently not. About this commemorative stamp, could you tell us more about it? It was very pretty, and more than that. Yes? It was a picture of people I liked at the time. This is something new. Apparently, we've got some cross-examination yet ahead of us. You would be so kind as to continue your testimony, Fräulein. The stamp is a picture of my favorite magicians, so I kept it. Magicians? Those magicians you liked, was it this bunch? Apollo, they're not a bunch. I see. Still, I have to wonder. Why include a commemorative stamp like that in a business letter? Good question. Well, pretty stamps are always better. You can't beat Troop Grimari. But the whole murder plan was a failure because of it. Ironic, don't you think? Prosecutor Gavin. Is he crying? Prosecutor Gavin? Grimari. What's with Gavin? Might I ask just one question of this witness? In your testimony just now, you just stated this was your first work that was other than a painting. Please tell me, what exactly did you make? Can I ask why? No, answer the question. Now! Prosecutor Gavin? You're usually not the one to make whose volume concerns me. Yeah, this is unbecoming of me. I apologize, but I must know, please. Miss Measham, tell me. It was a book. A single page in a book. A book? Please be more specific. It was a handwritten book. Like a diary. No, I don't know. What's happening? What's wrong with Prosecutor Gavin? It's like he just saw a ghost. Miss Measham, this book. Was there a picture of a silk hat on the back cover? Yes or no? How did you know? Prosecutor Gavin, the defendant is answering all of your questions. Stop badgering her. He's told you nothing, has he? Your soiled, sullied mentor. Nothing. Sullied who? Phoenix Wright. Who else? Daddy? He never told you about the trial 7 years ago. About how he came to lose his attorney's badge. It was a certain piece of evidence that decided his fate, you know. A certain diary. On the back it bore the mark of a silk cat. What? Phoenix Wright, tossed out by the profession by false evidence. And the forger who made that evidence. This girl standing right in front of me? Vera, you must tell us. The evidence you made was used in a trial 7 years ago. Who asked Drew Measham, you, to forge that evidence? For all our sakes, who was it? We only met once. You met the client? Well, who was it? It was... What's going on with Vera? She's staring at Prosecutor Gavin's face again. Yes, what? Is there something about me? I remember clearly. I remember who gave me the book, the diary. Who was it? Vera! Dead. Defendant Vera Measham, condition unconscious. Examiner's diagnosis, acute atriquinine poisoning. Oh my goodness. Same person must have done it because they used atriquinine. This ends the recording of the trial for the murder of Drew Measham. Vera Measham was, during the trial, poisoned by an unknown assailant. The dosage was just under the lethal amount, sparing the defendant's life. She is currently in intensive care and is not to be disturbed for any reason. A very simple case, at first glance, until it finally began to show its true colors. The long road to the truth takes us to the record of another trial. In some ways, that was the starting point of it all. And that is where we must go. To find the whole truth. Oh my. Save. Showdown time. Poker game? I lost. It's only a game of poker. A game I played for a long time, and only lost twice. Who was the first? The man I killed, of course. Well, it seems I've found the partner I've been looking for all along. Over a game of cards? Well, yes, over a game of cards. That was how we first met. 7 years ago. Seven years earlier, Phoenix Wright's final trial. April 19th, 9:27 a.m. District Court, Defendant Lobby Number 2. Okay, it's been a long time since I felt like such a rookie. Gotta try and relax. Good morning, Mr. Enigmar. I'm sorry to have sprung this on you so suddenly. I received the files from your previous attorney only yesterday. Honestly, I'm not entirely sure I'm prepped. I understand I'm asking the impossible of you. Yes, well, you haven't really told me what happened yet. All we did was play cards, and that was enough. Actually, it wasn't. Trust me. Oh, morning, Daddy. Ha! I'm so glad you came. You okay, Daddy? They picking on you? I am fine as always. This old boy is here to help me, after all. It's a young man to you. Good morning. That's a cute outfit you have gone. Thanks. My first show is today, after all. Oh, I'm sure it is. What the heck is she talking about? Oh boy. Huh, me? Look what he's started. Here. What's this? I don't know. I just got it over there in the hall. They told me to give it to the old boy in the blue suit with the spiky hair. They said it was really important. What's this? A memo for you or such? Not from the looks of it. What is this? Looks like a page from someone's diary. I'll give it a read later. Well, how do you feel about the trial today? We'll get through it. Somehow. Incidentally, the prosecutor today is a new guy, I hear. Ah, an easy win then, yes? They're calling him a true thoroughbred in the history of prosecutors' offices. Of course, there's one of those every year. The switching of attorneys just before the trial. I know it is a difficult situation I put you in. But allow me to say one thing, Mr. Wright. Yes? They will not be able to pronounce me guilty today. So do your best, but do not worry. First time a defendant's ever given me a pep speech. I'll do what I can. I see you do not understand. You see, it will be impossible for them to declare it a verdict. Impossible? Yes, isn't that right, Trucy? Yeah, you bet, Daddy. My first look at the case was only yesterday, and the information I was given was a tad bit lacking, to be honest. So I'll do what I can, for their sake. I believe the curtains will be lifting any time now. I am in your capable hands, Mr. Wright. My client is Shady Enigmar. Shady? Known in the world as Zach Grimeri? Shady? A wildly popular magician, star of the troupe Grimeri. His mentor, Magnified Grimeri, was a rare breed of magician. He single-handedly ushered in the golden age of stage magic until he was shot dead? And Zach Grimeri is the suspect. April 19th, 10 a.m., District Court, Courtroom number 7. Court is now at trial for the trial of Shady Enigmar. The defense is ready, Your Honor. Is the prosecution ready? I was just thinking, is this what all the fuss is about? A bit of a buzzkill, really. Buzzkill? Is this some kind of new kind of crime? One of the worst, this is a trial, yeah? Where are the sweaty palms, the pounding hearts? A Gaviner's concert's got 10 times the thrill this gig's caught. Who are you again? Clavier Gavin. I came to get the party started. Legally, yeah. Gavin? Defense attorney Christoph Gavin's. Figures my bro's more famous in this part of town. Clavier Gavin. Lead singer for the mega hit band, the Laveners. You're out of your league, rock boy. I know what you're thinking. You're out of your league, rock boy. True, my debut single, 13 Years Hard Time for Love, went platinum overnight. But that's just a hobby to me compared to this, yeah? Talkative, aren't you? I like your effective Euro rock accent, by the way. I'm just getting warmed up, Attorney Wright. Perhaps you would be so kind as to fill us in on the case. Act, young baby. Time to call on the opening act. What was his name again? Ah, yes, Detective Gumshoe. Hit it. And you are? Hey, you were the one who called me up here, sir. Name's Dick Gumshoe. I'm a homicide detective down at the precinct. Detective Gumshoe. Long time no see. Hey, you! Huh? Me? Today's the day, pal. Today I win and you lose. I got confidence in my testimony today, see? What, you normally lack confidence in your testimony? Hey, detective, this is my stage. Can the antics. Huh? All this hey youing and such. And I could care less about your history together. Very well, Detective Gumshoe, if you would. Please tell us about the case at hand. It happened 6 days back, in a room at the General Hospital. Facts are as simple as they come. Here's the crime scene. The victim was a patient, asleep in his hospital bed. In a hospital bed. The killer comes in, puts a pistol in his forehead, and bam, lights out. Them's the facts. Not so long ago, the victim, Magnify Grimmeri, was a famous man. He had the entire country under his magical spell, as it were. Ah yes, the great magician. He retired years ago, though. Say the name Magnify to one of my generation, and you'd be lucky to get a blank stare. Yes, though I'm sure that the youngsters today know his disciples even better. I dare say Troop Grimmeri has made quite a name for themselves. Anyhow, the retired Magnify has been in the hospital for the last year. What was it? A mall ignorant tutor or something. Doing something to his liver, I think. Yeah. Malignant tumor, perhaps? In other words, he had liver cancer. He only had 3 months left to live, in fact. Magnify's chart added to the court record. The facts do seem simple enough. Something's not quite right. The victim was already climbing a 3-month stairway to heaven. Why not wait for him to knock, knock, knock on heaven's door? Why shoot him? I wouldn't have put it quite so lyrically, but it's true. Why make the effort to commit murder when the victim was about to die? Incidentally, the victim had a serious case of diabetes. Diabetes? In fact, he was about to shoot up with insulin when he was shot with a pistol. The syringe was found at the crime scene. Chronic diabetes and cancer. Much as it pains me to say it, the victim was clearly at the end of his life. I believe the question before us is clear then. Why did the killer have to shoot this dying man? What reason could he have had? Very well, detective. Perhaps you can enlighten us as to the circumstances of the shooting. Oops. Yes, sir. Actually, the victim kind of ordered the defendant to do him in. A few days before it happened, the victim sent a letter ordering his own murder. The defendant did what was asked of him and shot the old man in the forehead. The bullet was fired from the pistol found at the scene, no doubt about it. And the pistol definitely belonged to the old man, sir. What? You're saying the victim ordered his own shooting? Those are the facts. I have the letter here in question. You, I entrust the task of... Oh, okay. Magnify's letter added to the court record. Very unusual indeed. Although, could such a thing as a letter really cause the one to pull a trigger, I wonder? I believe the answer to the question can only be found at the end of the letter. You cannot refuse, and we both know the reason why. Detective Gumshoe, can you explain this to the court? Unfortunately, even the defendant won't just say a peep about that bit, sir. One thing bothers me about this. Why didn't he just say 11? Why have him come at 11:05 without some specific reason? The devil is in the details, Herr Attorney. Well, was there some reason? As it turns out, there was. Every night, for half an hour, starting at 11. The victim, Magnified Grammary, was given an IV. An IV? There it is in the picture, off to the side of the bed. At 11, the doctor would come to set up the IV. 30 minutes later, he would come back for the empty bag. This happened every night without fail. That was the only time they could meet without chance of an untimely interruption. During his IV. Very well, shall we begin? Mr. Wright, your cross-examination, if you could. What's this reason he couldn't refuse, I wonder? Could have at least mentioned it to me. Circumstances. Actually, the victim kind of ordered the defendant to do him in. A few days before it happened, the victim sent a letter ordering his own murder. The defendant did what was asked of him and shot the old man in the frame of the forehead. I want more info on that. How can you be so sure? Hey, you gotta learn to stop relying on people to do your thinking for you, pal. Learn to think for yourself. Get that noggin cranking. Fail to grasp the concept of questioning, detective. First, we got this letter. It says shoot in the forehead, loud and clear. I can see that, but I still wouldn't do it. Maybe you need to grow yourself a backbone, pal. Fail to grasp the concept of shooting people is bad, detective. We also found the defendant's pistol at the scene. Traces of gunpowder residue shows that it had been fired recently. Well, Mr. Wright? As far as I can tell from looking at this photo, there seems to be no issue with the prosecution's claim. The photo. Maybe there's something in there I can use. Are they saying the defendant shot the victim in the forehead? I think there's a hole in the prosecution's argument. Wait a minute. Looking at this photo, another possibility occurs to me. Yes? What does the letter tell us? The defendant had a reason he couldn't refuse. His teacher's wishes. Bingo, pal! That's why the defendant popped him one in the forehead. Oh? The defense disagrees. You see, the defendant had another choice he could make. What? And you can prove this with this photo? I could prove he had a choice, yes. The defendant might have fired, like he was ordered. But he didn't shoot the victim's forehead. Well, let's hear what you're thinking, Mr. Wright. If he didn't shoot the victim's forehead, where did the defendant shoot? There's a hole in that clown. A clown doll? Take a closer look, see? It's been shot in the forehead, too. Ah, there's a hole in its forehead. Yes, and a hole in the prosecution's claim. Ha! And I suppose you have a reason as to why he'd shoot the clown doll? He didn't just shoot the doll. He shot the doll's forehead. His forehead? Ugh. Let's read the orders once more, shall we? You will shoot one shot, square in the forehead. Which is exactly what he did. He shot the clown doll square in the forehead. The defense has raised an intriguing possibility. That hole in the clown's forehead. It definitely looks like it was shot. Bailiff, send someone to investigate this matter. I admit it, I'm impressed. But I expected nothing less. Still, this doesn't mean he didn't shoot the victim. That soundbite sounded weird. Perhaps he did have to shoot a forehead, as ordered. But the letter says nothing about whose forehead. This was the only way he had to follow his orders without taking a life. The bullet held in the clown's doll's forehead does demand an explanation. It might very well be a clue, yet Prosecutor Gavin is right. It alone does not prove the defendant's innocence. You cannot say for sure this defendant didn't shoot the victim. So sorry, Mr. Wright. How sad to see the mighty fall. How sad it is to see the novice's overconfidence. He doesn't realize how big this little hole is going to get. Detective Gumshoe, please take this newfound fact into account as you continue your testimony. So what if he shot the clown? He still shot the victim, pal. The defendant did what was active and shot the old man in the forehead. The bullet was fired from the pistol found at the scene, no doubt about it. Is there a doubt? You mean this pistol, the one at the crime scene photo? That's the one. It's a funny looking gun, so there's no mistaking it. We compared the bullet taken from the victim's skull with the bullet fired from the gun. The rifling marks on the bullets were a perfect match. So, you verified the murder weapon, in other words. You bet we did. And the pistol definitely belonged to the old man, sir. So what if he shot the clown? He still shot the victim, pal. Why are you so certain? What pile of sand has your head been stuck in on this time, pal? You never heard of Zack and Valen's quick draw shoot 'em? Huh? What's that? One of the defendant's specialties. Zack and Valen stand on either side of a girl. Then they shoot. But the bullets don't hit her. Instead, they hit everything else on stage. This was one of the pistols they used in their show. Got a great design, huh? The kids love it. Many boys and girls joined the police because of that pistol, I hear. You know, that would explain a lot about the police force. Troop Grimari stopped doing that act a while ago. The old man held on to that pistol ever since. The court would like to see the pistol in question. You got it, sir. Here she is. Well, this truly is a blast from the past. It's a stage pistol for magic shows, see? But it can fire real bullets. It looks so much bigger in real life than on TV. Yeah, but it can only hold one round. By the way, the pistol's firing chamber is empty. And it shows traces of having been fired recently. So, were any fingerprints found on the gun? Unfortunately, no. Of course, the defendant is known for wearing gloves. We might say that a lack of fingerprints is in fact a fingerprint of his own. Aha! Intriguing point. Well made. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Not well made, not intriguing. In any case, the court accepts this evidence. Stage pistol added to the court record. My grandchild would get a kick out of seeing this. But now it's time to return to our testimony. So what if he shot the clown? He still shot the victim, pal. You can only fire one shot. The trickiest cases often seem the simplest. Prosecutor Gavin, you missed the bullet hole in the clown's forehead. If you hadn't missed that, you might have come to a very different conclusion. Understand? Yeah, but like I just said, pal. After he shot the clown in the forehead, he went and did nothing of the sort to the victim. The pistol proves he could not. The murder weapon? How? It's quite simple, Your Honor. This pistol only holds one bullet at a time. If he had shot the clown in the forehead, he couldn't have shot the victim too. That's not a contradiction, not even close. All he had to do was reload the pistol after the first shot. Oh, where did he get the extra bullet? They're not easy to come by, you know. You claim the defendant had one ready. Then prove to us how he got it. I had a feeling this wasn't over yet. No, this party's just getting started. And I haven't proven anything yet, but my good looks and startling record sales. And utter lack of humility. What's this? It seems that the prosecution has another witness prepared. Like I said, Ed Detective, it was just a warm-up act. Ugh. Now that the audience has gotten a taste of what's to come, they're ready. Ready for what? For my decisive witness, of course. A witness who, you will find, can prove one thing for us. That it was Zack Grimari who shot the victim in the forehead. Very well. We will pause for a 15-minute recess. This might be my lucky break. I'll need that 15-minute talk to Talk to my client, Zach. Court is adjourned. Shady. April 19th, 11:21 a.m. District Court, Defendant, Lobby Number 2. Very impressive, Mr. Wright. I have to say, I expected nothing less. We've only just begun. I was hoping you could tell me a bit more about what happened, actually. I did not think you would believe me if I told you. Better that you discovered the truth for yourself. I was thinking of you, you know. I think we need less thinking and more talking. That night in the hospital, what really happened? Ah, the way your eyes gleam, Mr. Wright. You'll scare Trucy. Speaking of which, where is she? You have seen the problem yourself, the letter. The one shot in the forehead. The one, right? Yes, and the reason he speaks of. I could not deny my mentor's wishes, even if it meant his own death. Why not? This is something I will not say, for now at least. What's this for now business? I have done many things in my life, some well, some poorly. But this is a cross we must bear alone to our graves. We? You wanted to know about the night of the incident? Finally, this guy sure likes to take his time to get into the important stuff. Of course, I had no intention of shooting my mentor. I snuck into his room at that appointed time, and found there upon his bedside table, upon 2 pistols. 2? Yes, the one I had used on stage, and the one that had been used by my partner, Valent. Oh, for the Zack and Valent's quick draw thing? My mentor had the look of one sleeping. I stood by his bedside, hearing only the light sound of his breathing. Then I took the pistol into my hand. I cannot deny that my resolve faltered then for a moment. You faltered? You mean you thought about shooting him? Recall there was a reason I could not refuse his request. His last such request, though not his first. There were other requests you couldn't refuse before? To be honest, I have not always been steadfast, and I fear I brought pain upon Trucy. Magnify coercing his disciple somehow? Just what was going on in Troop Grammary? Yet in the end, I did not shoot him. Instead, I turned and shot the clown. I took the pistol I had fired and placed it in my pocket. In your pocket? I believe if you examine the bullet in the clown's head, you will find it to be different than the one to my mentor. What were those called? Rifling marks. Yes. Well, that is all I have to tell you concerning the case. Concerning the case? You mean there's something else you could tell me? You're a fascinating man, Mr. Wright. Thanks? Yes, there is something. My mentor. His eyes opened. What? Magnified Grammary? The old devil. He was not asleep, you see. Of course, the gunshot would have woken him anyway. And there we had our last discussion as mentor and pupil. It was not a long discussion. Maybe 5, 10 minutes or so. What did you talk about? Mr. Wright, did I not just tell you? It is not concerned in this case. Zach Grammary, he seems pretty steadfast to me, or maybe just stubborn. Mr. Wright, your presence is requested in the courtroom. Once again, I am in your hands. Right, let's go back in there. Court is now back in session. During our recess, a bullet was found in and dug out from the clown's head. Well, this is news. And the rifling marks? There wasn't time to do a detailed analysis. Though they did find the weapon type matches the murder weapon. Well, that's not very conclusive, is it? Which is why I'm about to call my very decisive witness. Your decisive witness? How many times have I heard those words? Though they often turn to be far less decisive than you think. Oh, don't worry about my account. I'm quite confident this witness will do the job. After all, he is intimately acquainted with the players in our little production, being the other half of Troop Grimary's famous duo, Zack and Valent. Grimary. So we get to meet the great Magnify's other disciple. Perhaps we'll start by asking your name and occupation. Valent Grimary, magician. And you're the decisive witness, are you? You can prove your fellow student your partner's guilt? Fate, a grand illusion filled with traps and tricks. Wait, the shooting took place in that hospital after 11 o'clock at night. You're a witness. Does that mean you were there that late? If one were to do this logically, the conclusion is yes. Okay. I always get the characters, don't I? I have an interesting fact for you. You see, several days before the crime, my witness received this. That looks very familiar. Wait, that's the same letter Zack Grimary received. Yes, or perhaps I should say, ta-da! Order, order, order! And what does it say? Surely not the same thing. Perhaps you should see for yourself. Why, it's practically the same. 11:20 p.m. on the 13th. The court accepts this into evidence. Magnifies letter 2 added to the court. This is most unusual. Exactly what was going on with you folks. What exactly was your Troop Grimary up to? By which you mean, I'm just having trouble envisioning a man who would ask his students to kill him. Both of them, no less. It's just my opinion, Judge. But from these letters, I'd say he was coercing them, not asking them. We walked the magician's path together, and in doing so, shared much of our lives. When people are so close, there's a strain, a warping of relations, you say. Yet this has nothing to do with the case at hand. By which you mean you're not going to tell us. It makes me wonder even more about the reason they couldn't refuse. Well, let's get on with the testimony for starters. The defendant, Zack Grimary, stands accused. Tell us why. Oh, I'll do more than that. But where he walks, the red roses singing hymns to the miracle that is magic. Fascinating. Though I hardly need to remind you that the evidence could just as clearly point to you as the suspect. The letter, the murder weapon, and now the 2 bullets found at the scene. In fact, the only difference seems to be the designated time. As every magician knows, timing is everything. Yes. And now it's time to get this party fired up. The night of the crime. That night, I visited the hospital room at the time Magnify requested. The smell of gunpowder hung in the room, and my mentor had taken his final blow. I did not imagine my fellow student might have received the same instructions. Yet a deal with the dead is still a deal. Death's sweet kiss I gave to the clown. When I informed the doctor and the police... Oh, then I informed the doctor and the police. So you were the one who reported the crime? Indeed, I would think. This fact alone would clear my name of suspicion. Let's not jump to any conclusions. Yes, the cross-examination generally comes before the conclusions in this court. But if your testimony proves to be true, then the defendant, Zack Grimary, is guilty. And if it wasn't Zack Grimary, then the killer was you, Valent. And no disappearing acting will get you out of that. The night of the crime. That night I visited the hospital room at the time Magnify requested. The smell of gunpowder hung in the room, and my mentor had taken his final blow. I did not imagine my fellow student might have received the same instructions. Yet a deal with the dead is still a deal. Death's sweet kiss I gave to the clown. There were 2 bullet holes at the scene, one in the victim, one in the clown. You're saying the one who shot the clown was you? No doubt my partner Zack said much the same thing. Yeah, because whoever didn't shoot the clown committed murder. I better dig around here a bit more and see what I turn up. Mr. Valent, let me ask about something else concerning the crime scene, namely, the number of pistols. How many pistols were there when you entered the room? By which you mean what, precisely? 2 pistols were used in Zack and Valent quick draw shoot 'em, right? 1 for each of you. You are well informed, yet only one of my old friends sat in the hospital room that night. What did Zack tell me back in the lobby? Of course, I had no intention of shooting my mentor. I snuck into his room that night at the appointed time, and found there upon his bedside table 2 pistols. I took the pistol I had fired and placed it in my pocket. I see no problem with that statement. Only 1 pistol is visible in the photograph of the crime scene, after all. So you picked up that pistol and fired it? Indeed I did. Alakazam. Alakazing. Alakazaboom. Is the number of pistols really so important? It's pretty important. The number of pistols is quite important, Your Honor. Very well. Please add this detail to your testimony. What can I do but obey? Only 1 pistol was in the hospital room that night. With it, I shot the clown. According to the defendant, Zack Grimeri, when he entered the room, there were 2 pistols on that table. 2. One of those pistols he used to shoot the clown in the forehead, and then he left with it in his pocket. Of course, this is what he would say. Unlike the hapless clown, we must assume our defendant has some brains in his head. But what about what Mr. Valent has told us? You see, there's something about his testimony that doesn't make sense. What might that be? I told you, I took the pistol that was there and shot the clown. That's your story, at least. But the rifling marks tell a very different story, Mr. Valent. Recall what Prosecutor Gavin told us. We compared the bullet taken from the victim's skull with the bullet victim fired from this gun. The rifling marks on the bullet were a perfect match. Mr. Valent, if you fired this pistol, then you shot the victim in the forehead. Order, order, order! Well, this is all rather sudden. What have I done? Prosecutor Gavin? I owe the court an apology. Sorry. Sorry for what? You see, I was unaware that 2 of these unique pistols were crafted. The analysis of the rifling marks proved only 1 type of gun that fired them. But that's not what you told us before. You said you'd verified the murder weapon. Which is why I'm apologizing to you now. Quite sincerely, I might add. Would you hold me accountable for a mistake made in my youth? That was just this morning. I am still young. And I might add, it wasn't really my fault, since the defendant had only admitted he took 1 pistol from the scene of the crime. We would not be having this pleasant discussion now. Valent Grimeri? Yes, Your Honor. You were presented this course as a decisive witness, but you've proven to be more divisive than decisive. Objection! You'll see in time. The testimony so far has merely been a review of the facts. The proof comes next. Care to elaborate, Prosecutor Gavin? When Mr. Valent entered the hospital room, the victim had already been shot. And his next testimony will prove, right, the real fight is about to begin. Bring it. Very well. The witness will now testify to the court. Help us determine who shot what. Who shot what? I arrived in the hospital room at the appointed time, which is to say 11:20 p.m. After discovering the body, I fulfilled my obligation, then called the doctor. The doctor examined the body before the police arrived. He was quite clear about the time of death, 11:10 p.m. And the one in the room at the time was my partner, not Ree. Those times are rather close, you have to admit. You're talking about an alibi, established over a matter of minutes. Use a 10-minute discrepancy as the basis of your alibi. Is easy to explain in this situation, Air Judge. For example, take our debut hit signal, 13 Years, Hard Time for Love. Cue to the song, press the play button and it will play for 2 minutes, 15 seconds. Do it 100 times and the result is the same. Your debut signals was only 2 minutes and 15 seconds long? What a ripoff. Magic is a world of utmost precision. Hocus pocus requires admirable focus. And in the time of death, determined by the doctor there, is an incontrovertible truth. I've never seen that word. Very well, the prosecution warns us that we're dealing with a rather precise times. We can expect the cross-examination to require the same level of precision. I would hope the defense refrains from its customary broad, sweeping accusations, lest we blur the focus this case so clearly demands. Point taken. Baseless remarks will result in a penalty. Carry on, Mr. Wright. Carry on. Right. Who shot what? I arrived in the hospital room at the appointed time, which is to say 11:20 p.m. After discovering the body, I fulfilled my obligation, then called in the doctor. The doctor examined the body before the police arrived. He was quite clear about the time of death, 11:10 p.m. Really? I don't think I'm stepping out of on a limb to say I have some doubts about this. How could the doctor be so precise with the time? We do usually only give an estimated time of death, true. I'm not sure I've heard of a verified time of death. Not making the complex appear simple, but reality is the opposite. What appears complex in this case is a simple matter of subtraction. I see another person has done their arithmetic homework. The point here is the IV the victim was taking. It's quite visible in the photograph of the scene. Recall what we heard earlier about the victim, magnified Grimmary's schedule. Every night at 11, Grimmary took an IV drip for 30 minutes. I can see the IV bag right there, yes. Now look a little closer. Follow the tube down from the bag to the end. Ah! The needle's been removed. Doubtlessly, it fell out when he was shot. That would seem to be the case. When the needle comes out, the IV no longer drips. You can just measure the remaining IV liquid. Precisely. The IV liquid functions, for our purposes, as an hourglass of sorts. This is how the doctor determined the time of death. From the amount remaining in the bag, it was determined that the IV had stopped 10 minutes after administration began. And so it was when I, Valent, entered the room. 10 minutes had passed since that horrible crime was committed. And this is proof. Well, Mr. Wright, did that seem important? Very. Well, seeing how it is the biggest clue we have to the time of death, I'd say it's very important. Agreed. It would be hard to imagine a more precise way to determine the time. Behold the power of arithmetic. Very well. The witness will add this detail to his testimony. Sometimes the most magical thing of all is the truth. The water of life springs not eternal. The remaining IV liquid proves my innocence. Did you notice the IV yourself by any chance? When I first entered the room, the stench of gunpowder assailed me. Next, the mark of death upon my mentor's forehead. And then, his left arm did I spy a rose dripping and wilted. Its thorn, the discarded IV noodle. I said noodle. Needle. Knocked from the vein by the force of the shot, lucky for you. If that IV had not been there, why, you might be a suspect. Indubitably so. I might say it's thanks to my lucky color. Your lucky color? Indeed, even today I wear it proudly upon my suspect self. For it is always, without fail, brings me luck. Why, when Zack and Valent won their first Magicians Grand Prix, yes, the very one held by the Association of International Magicians, I was adorned in this attire then too. And our trophy, a bust. Ah, what a day that was. It's one trip down memory lane that no one needs. My lucky color, yes indeed, and that IV. I say, 'twas hued especially for me, Valant. That does seem to be the case, indeed. Well, Mr. Wright, any thoughts on the testimony? Valant sure looks happy with himself. Okay, how about this lucky color testimony? Something's not right here. It certainly sounds like your lucky colors brought you plenty of luck, but not this time. Mr. Valant, your lucky colors betrayed you. I'm afraid you've lost me. Your Honor, the witness's testimony just now clearly contradicts the evidence. What? Please recall my warning at the beginning of the cross-examination, Mr. Wright. Baseless accusations will be duly penalized. I do hope this latest accusation is well-based. Don't worry, I've got all their bases right here. Let's hear the defense's claim. Where is your evidence that contradicts what Mr. Valant has told us? The crime scene tells all, Your Honor. The photo of the crime scene? All this talk of color has me yearning for black and white, clear-cut simplicity. Tell us, Herr Wright, just where is the contradiction in this photo? My pleasure, and I assure you, it's quite simple. But I can't promise anything in black and white. Let's hear what Mr. Wright has to say. What is in this photo contradicts the witness's testimony? Valant Grimeri, let's get one thing straight about your lucky color. It's yellow, yes? Kind of takes the mystery out of it, but yes. Something wrong with yellow, Mr. Wright? Yes, there is. Decisively wrong, in fact. Take another look at the photo of the crime scene. What's this? Confusion, doubt. Tell us, what did your elderly eyes spy? Even my elderly eyes can see the problem here, Mr. Valant. Look at that IV bag. What is this? What foul magic? It would be hard to call the IV liquid yellow. And I'm afraid no magic was involved in taking this photograph. No! Order, order, order! What does this mean? This is some kind of mistake. Yes, Prosecutor Gavin. Your witness's mistake. The greener they are, the harder they fall. I suppose there's no substitute for experience. Valant Grimeri, as you reminded us several times, your lucky color is yellow, but the IV is clearly not. Well, the contradiction could mean only one thing. And to think, you almost had me. I see your true colors now, Ace Attorney Phoenix Wright. Something you'd like to tell us, Prosecutor Gavin? As far as this court can tell, the witness's testimony does contradict the evidence. Yes, a contradiction. One that I shall be pleased to hand right back to Mr. Wright. How do you mean? How? Because the witness has made no mistakes. I agree that at a glance the IV liquid does appear to sort of greenish yellow. But I assure you, the liquid itself is quite yellow. Yellow liquid? How can you say that? As far as I can tell from this photo, it's green. Yes, but what color is the IV bag itself? The bag? You mean the plastic bag on the hook? It looks like I want to say light blue? Precisely. Figured it out yet? Put a yellow liquid in a blue bag and you get green. This, incidentally, is the liquid's true color. I see. Your explanation does have a ring of truth to it. As I thought, There's no substitute for experience, Prosecutor Gavin. What? You may tell a good tale, but you've just proven something rather grave, for you, that is. Grave? The liquid in the IV is yellow, yes. But how did this witness know that? It's quite unnatural when you think about it. You did think about it, didn't you? Your Honor, the defense requests an explanation from the witness. At the scene of the crime, the IV liquid appears to be green. So let me ask, how did the witness know if the IV liquid was actually yellow? Oh my god! Order! 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 Mr. Wright, you will explain this at once! The witness clearly knew the color of the IV liquid, so I'm sure it means something, but what? I could think of only one possibility, Your Honor. The witness, Valant Grimeri, has testified that the IV liquid was because he already knew the liquid's color. From the facts before us, the answer is clear. The witness knew that the IV was yellow. Why? Because he'd seen it before. But not inside the blue bag we'd seen in the photo. He saw the liquid by itself, in a clear, colorless bag. I suppose he would have had to, but I'm still not clear as to what this means. Ask yourself, why would he know if he didn't work at the hospital? That's where you'll find your meaning, Your Honor. I'm afraid I find nothing. So what if he knew the IV liquid's color? Leave the getting excited over absolutely nothing to our Team Bopper fans, yeah? The IV liquid is the only evidence proving the time of death. The 30-minute hourglass with 20 minutes worth of sand remaining. Your claim, Prosecutor Gavin. I remember it well. However, there's a critical difference between an hourglass and an IV bag. Wait, I know! An hourglass uses sand, but an IV bag uses liquid. I'm right? No. As much as it pains me to say this, Your Honor, no. Unlike the sand through an hourglass, IV liquid enters the patient's body, at which point, like magic, it disappears. However, what if the amount of IV liquid had increased? You couldn't tell, could you? After all, there's no way of knowing how much went in. Let me get this straight, Wright. You're saying the witnesses watered down the victim's IV bag? Not with water, but with IV liquid. That's how you knew about the IV liquid was yellow. Now wait, I said wait! How might an amateur such as myself essay to perform such a task? I'm an amateur too, but I could pour water into a cup. I'm afraid there's quite a difference between a cup and an IV bag, quite. Can you prove our witnesses is capable of such a feat? He has a point, amateurs. I, at least, would have some difficulty pouring IV liquid into that bag. You don't need to be an expert to see the look on the witness's face. He added liquid to that IV bag to throw off the time of death. I tire of these fairy tales lacking evidence. Well, Mr. Wright, any solid evidence to bring us down back to Earth? Valant Grimeri, I'm afraid your magic won't serve you well in a life of crime. Might I ask what you're strongly suggesting? Magic relies on props, and props become evidence. Our witness was certainly able to increase the amount of IV liquid in the bag. All he had to do was work a little magic, and the prop was the syringe. The victim's syringe. It's the perfect prop for the magically increasing IV trick, and easy enough for an amateur to use. What kind of evidence is that? The syringe was clean, not a trace of liquid in it. And you don't find that odd, Prosecutor Gavin? What? The victim had the syringe to administer his insulin shots. There should have been traces of insulin left inside. Well, Valant Grimeri, as you pointed out yourself, the IV liquid makes the perfect clock. One that you could manipulate at will. Alcazar! I do believe, well, with this being his first. that the burden of this trial has been a bit too much to bear for Prosecutor Gavin. I'm afraid that while there is a doubt as to the amount of liquid in the IV bag, the time of death cannot be proven, and that brings our trial to a close for today. Well, maybe I can squeeze an extra day out of this. I can do a much needed investigation work.
Objection!
Uh-oh. Ivan! Truly, there is no substitute for experience. Jesus, what is with this sound? Nothing blinds one to the truth so effectively. A word to the wise. Underestimate the young, and they'll sweep your feet right from under you. In one way you'll never ever expected. You see, I know exactly what you're thinking. What's he talking about? You say the witness used the syringe to manipulate the level of IV liquid, but there is no proof. There's no proof he didn't do it either. Thank you, it stopped. Yes, quite true. Huh? He's admitting it? Nor was the witness quite as decisive as I'd hoped. This, I admit, after all, why I linger in the past, when your future holds so much. You have something in mind, Prosecutor Gavin? Proof, Judge. I have another way to prove my case. With evidence, no less. What's this? This is the victim, Magnify Grammaria's diary. Diary? After going into that hospital, Magnify began writing his memoirs, it seems. The story of his birth, his startling debut, and of meeting his disciples. It seems he intended for the last chapter to end, quite appropriately, with his death. Wait, that book doesn't say what the reason was, does it? The reason why his disciples couldn't refuse his last request? Sadly, it does not. What's important here is on the last page. Apparently the victim wrote in his journal that night, even after the IV had begun at 11 p.m. Let's read it, shall we? Tonight's IV is in, maybe the last. I live the rest of them. The first should come soon. The journal may end here or it may go on, but not long. That depends on his hand. The court accepts this into evidence. Magnifies diary added to the court record. Read the very last part with particular care. This journal may end here or it may go on, but not long. That depends on his hand. Of course, by his. He refers to our defendant, Zach Grammari. That will make sense, yes. He was the first scheduled visitor, after all. But look at what he said after that. This journal may end here, or it may go on. It may go on. Magnifying into Grammari intended to write again. That is, if Zach Grammari didn't pull the trigger. I see the defense understands the meaning of this. The victim's diary does not go on. It ends. Because Magnify's life was brought to an end by the defendant, Zach Grammari. Order! 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 Prosecutor Gavin! Are you certain that Magnify Grammari wrote this? There is no mistaking his handwriting. Well, this does seem to be significant. According to this, Magnify did intend to continue his diary. Yet if his diary ended here, which plainly it did, then the one who pulled the trigger was the first visitor, Zach Grammari. Well, how do you like me now, right? Still too green for your tastes? He's right about the diary being pretty clear. Still, I find it hard to believe. That he'd overlook such an obvious problem with his precious evidence. Mr. Wright, the witness's testimony we heard was lacking. But put together with this evidence, it seems quite sufficient for a case. The diary is accepted like this, the trial's over. Maybe it's time for me to show them something. Now we fall into the trap. I'm left with no choice but to show my own evidence. What? You have some evidence that overturns this diary? It's not too late to rethink this and avoid more embarrassment. Very well, please show us your evidence, Mr. Wright. Incidentally, don't even think of showing us this diary I've just shown in court. Now that we've come this far, I'd hope you'd have something a little more decisive. Show us evidence that proves the victim continued writing in his diary. Alright, I'd be happy to. The decisive evidence proving that the diary didn't end with this page is... First, take a close look at this diary. Note that a page has been clearly ripped out. What's this? I hadn't noticed that at all. That's why we're still here talking about it. As it just so happens, I have here what I believe to be the missing page. Alec, I don't believe it. Looking at this page, it's hard to imagine the first visitors at night shot Magnify Grammary. That's the defense's position. Wait, let me see that. What in Sam Hill? Why, this is the continuation of the victim's diary. Note the torn edge of the page. It's a perfect match with the torn remains of the last page in Magnify's diary. Wait, remarkable. Would you care to explain what all this means, attorney? The diary continued after his first visitor came, which means that the victim was still alive after Zach Grammary left, leaving no one to take his life but the second visitor. Valiant Grammary! No. No! The handwriting, too, matches that on the other pages. This is, without a doubt, the genuine article. Order, order, order! But wait, that's impossible! That old man couldn't have written that! Finally. You just couldn't resist, could you, Herr Wright? Resist what? Presenting solid evidence? Judge. Yes, Prosecutor Gavin? Might I request we pull the current cross-examination on hold? The prosecution would like to call a new witness. But Prosecutor Gavin! This evidence overturns the current witnesses. I ask only to put it on hold. Please, my new witness has a very, very important piece of testimony to give. 5 minutes, no more. I promise, Your Honor. Well, if you put it that way. Mr. Wright, what's your take on this? Well, Your Honor? We'll have to hear this new testimony sooner or later anyway, so it might as well be sooner. Then, though this has been highly irregular, we will put the current cross-examination on hold. The witness may step down. Now, Prosecutor Gavin, please bring this surprise witness to the courtroom. I had a bad feeling just then. That ripped out page was too obvious. He must have known. And I should have known it was a bad sign all around. Holding trial with no audience is a first, even for me, Prosecutor Gavin. I beg the court's understanding. But I had to make a judiciary deal with the witness to secure his testimony. A judiciary deal? The details of his testimony may have some legal ramifications, shall we say. I thought it best to contain the information to this room. Very well. And you are the witness, I gather? Ah. Yes, sir. State your name and occupation for the record. My name's Drew Measham. I'm a painter. A painter? And you are somehow related to this case? No, well, not per se. I have one simple question for this witness. Mr. Measham, was it? Do you know what this is? Oh, yeah. I know it well. How's that possible? Have you seen this diary page somewhere before? Oh, yeah. I mean, I made it. You, what? You made it? Yes. You might call it one of my works. The regional prosecutor's office received a tip-off yesterday. Illegal evidence to be prepared for the trial of Zach Grimeri. Illegal evidence? I initiated an investigation and found this witness. A painter to the world at large. Drew Measham has another side, you might say. He is skilled in making perfect reproductions of certain things. Forgeries, in other words. Forgeries? Well, so we are to understand that this page here is a fake, prepared by a certain defense attorney. Hold it. I didn't prepare this evidence. Ah, the attorney speaks. Something about this page, I presume. But what is he saying? It makes no sense. After all, it was you who presented this evidence to us, Mr. Wright. Witness, Mr. Measham, was it? Who requested this forgery? Who was your client? That, I don't know. What? Most of my clients prefer to remain anonymous, even to me. I make the items they want and receive my payment. That's the extent of my contact with them. But there's no proof this is a fake. It's a fake. Huh? To avoid just this sort of a problem, I always put a special mark on my works. I can say without a doubt, this is mine. Mr. Wright, you have just presented illegal evidence to the court. My court. It was careless of me. That's all I can say.
Oh boy. Here.
What's this?
I don't know. I just got it over there in the hall. They told me to give it to the old boy in the blue suit with the spiky hair. They said it was really important.
It was all a trap. A fatal trap. Mr. Wright. Yes? Do you have an explanation for yourself? If I did, would this court hear it? Probably not. Forging evidence is a serious crime, and presenting it in court, a serious mistake. A fatal mistake for an attorney. Fatal too, perhaps, for your client, I fear. Tell me, what kind of defendant relies on forged evidence? The answer is quite clear. A guilty one. Your Honor, wait. I understand that presenting forged evidence is a serious crime, but you cannot hold a client responsible for actions I undertook as an individual. I am sorry, Mr. Wright. Your Honor, another close call, I dare say. If the prosecutor's office hadn't received that hot tip, everything would have gone the way you wanted it to, yeah? I even gave you a chance. Too bad you decided not to think before embarrassing yourself. I see no need for further discussion on this matter. Special witness dismissed. Mr. Attorney? Yes? Could I ask your name? Phoenix Wright. Mr. Wright, I've seen and studied many people, but none like you. I'll remember you, Mr. Wright. Though I deeply regret having to declare a verdict in this way, this trial is over. You have the right to find a new attorney and make an appeal. However, this court must. Ah, Your Honor. Yes, Mr. Zach? There's one thing I wish to make clear. Today, in this courtroom, you cannot declare me guilty. It is impossible. I'm afraid the defendant is quite mistaken. I most certainly have the authority to declare a verdict on you. Except, tell me, how do you plan on announcing your verdict when your defendant does not exist? Doesn't exist? What are you talking about? I am talking about this. Gone. Mr. Enigmar. The defendant's escaped. Find him, quick. Bailiff, close all exits from the building. On the double, he must not be allowed to escape. That day in the courtroom, a miracle occurred. The defendant, Shady Enigmar, aka Zach Grimeri, did not just escape from court. He literally, unbelievably, vanished. Right before the bailiff's eyes. No one ever saw him again. Not since that day. This is the Grimeri miracle. No verdict was declared. After all, the defendant didn't exist. That's how it happened. The trial of magician Zach Grimeri vanished, along with him, for all eternity. The mysteries that remained behind were all solved, however, but not until 7 years later. Save. Let's save. There we go. The trial began 7 years ago, was the beginning of it all. This I know beyond a doubt. Mysteries of the past work their magic on the present, but you'll soon be finding all of this out for yourself. Which of magnified Grimeris disciples pulled that trigger? Where did the vanishing defendant, Zach Grimeri, go? What dark truth lurks behind the forged diary page? And what about the girl who was left behind? Mason system. What the hell is this? The past left us these 4 keys to unlocking the truth. But that's not all. There are 4 keys in the present as well. And when all the questions have found their answers, the final trial will begin. But first, you must chase the truth through then and now. Think of it as a game. I, Phoenix Wright, will be your guide through this game. That terrible trial saw me present forged evidence. It ended half-finished with the defendant vanishing. What became of me after that? As your investigation proceeds, the answer will become clear. Oh, and one more thing. There's something I must tell you. As Apollo Justice has his bracelet, so too do I have my own weapon of sorts. My Magatama. What does it do, you ask? That I would have you see for yourself. Well now, shall we begin? Touch the arrow to switch between the past and present. But let's begin 7 years ago, in the past. Is it right after my last trial came to an abrupt end? Now that you know the game, let's play. The detention center. The nightmare trial was over, and the new nightmare of figuring out what had happened had just begun. I wanted to wake up, to walk away, but I figured I'm the only one who could do this. Probably. Besides, I had plenty of time, thanks to the Bar Association Review Board's decision. It's hard to work when your attorney's badge has been taken away. 7 years ago, detention center, visitor's room. What strange sight doth mine eyes behold? Excuse me. 2 men on either side of a single transparent pane. Yet it seems fickle fate has switched sides, so to speak. The forger of fakes walks freely, while the innocent languages within these plexiglass confines. There's been no proof that I forged anything, nor proof that I took the life of my dear mentor. Yet, these chains cannot hold me locked for long. The stage awaits. And what, may I ask, awaits you? A little piano and a cold little hole in the wall. But since you are here, what shall we discuss? The shooting of Magnified Grimeri, for one. Who pulled that trigger, Valent or his partner Zach? His partner vanished before the answer could be found. If I'm going to get any closer to the truth, this is the place to start. The fateful trial. I have to hand it to my partner. He knows how to make an exit. That's talent. Yes, he made my attorney's badge disappear, and he never even touched it. Glorious spotlights always leave someone weeping in the shadows. Yet his very disappearance itself is a revelation. Revealing what? Zack Grimeri killed Magnify. It's as good as a signed confession. That's certainly been a public opinion's take on it. I grow tired of my cage. And the time of my release is near. I must go and prepare. Planning on jumping back into the magic right away? As long as an audience waits with bated breath, there will be Valiant. And also, yes, now that my partner has disappeared, Magnify's repertoire is mine. Valiant Grimeri has a tradition to uphold. That true? Seen in this light, the trial was quite good for me, verdict or no. And you can't pay for that kind of publicity. Blackmail. The suspicion on you hasn't lifted entirely, Valiant. After all, you received one of those letters too. You were just as obligated to follow Magnify's instructions as your partner. So I was. But only Zack Grimeri followed them. Let us not speak any more of who shot what. Now that my partner has vanished, the question is moot. I'm more interested in learning something else, actually. What might that be? I want to know what Magnify has had up his sleeve. How could he coerce you and your partner to kill him? The trick up his sleeve? Perhaps you do not know. Know what? A great magician never reveals his secrets. Cyclops! I missed these! The audience must remain forever in the audience, bathing in the reflected glow of the spotlight. Magatama, one of my most prized positions which I got during a certain case. It can show me the locks on people's hearts. And if I can unlock their hearts, they'll tell me their secrets. The Magatama starts it all, and the Magatama ends it. I don't think I have evidence for it though, so we'll look for something else. Defendant lobby, Drew Studio, Right and Go. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Which one will I choose? Is it this one? Yeah. Seven years ago, right in Quo Loft offices. Oh, morning, Daddy. Oh, I'm so glad you came. You okay, Daddy? They picking on you? I am fine, as always. This old boy here is to help me, after all. That's a young man to you. Good morning, that's a cute outfit you have on. Thanks. My first show's today, after all. 2 weeks had passed since then. I called her into my office. Trucy, there's something we need to talk about. It's been 2 weeks since your father disappeared. We need to start thinking about your future. I did some calling around. It is hard to say, but you have no living relatives. So, I was wondering if you wanted to stay with me for a while, just until your daddy comes home. It won't be long, I hope. Of course. It's totally your choice. If you don't like it here, you can go wherever you like. I can look for some places you might like to stay at. This is so weird. Mr. Attorney, Daddy told me about you. He said I could trust you. Huh? Really? So if I stay here, does that mean you'll be my family? Well, I guess so. Getting weirder. Mr. Attorney, actually, why don't you just call me Nick? Or you can call me Daddy if you like. It doesn't have to be today or anything. Okay, say, Daddy? That was quick. If I move here, I have to switch schools, right? And I was thinking, I haven't paid for lunches my last school year.
for a year. So thanks, Dad. Ah. Oh, in this office? It's a little blah. A little color goes a long way, you know. Ah. Oh, and Daddy, you got fired from work, right? Don't you worry one bit. I'll work twice as hard. We'll make it through this. Trucy, how old are you? Oh, I'm 8. But don't let appearances deceive you. I'm a young professional. Stick with me and you'll do just fine, Daddy. Ah, thanks. Why does it feel like she's already in charge?
Daddy, you got fired from being a lawyer, right? You could at least look aside or something when Lou will tell you that. It's actually kind of hard for me. For Daddy. Oh, I'm sorry, Daddy. Wait, is that foolish pride? My other daddy used to always talk about that. Actually, that's pretty accurate. So here's my idea. We'll make a new office. Law just seems so stiff, doesn't it? And no one will be my friend at school that way. Well, that won't do, I guess. I just don't know much about anything else other than law. Or even much about law, if you were to ask someone people. Maybe the problem is calling it an office. We should call it an agency instead. I mean, like a talent agency? Forgive me for asking, but doesn't that require talent? You've got me, don't ya? I'm a professional. Professional? Yep. After all, I am directly descended from the famous Zach Grimeri. Directly descended. He's your father. Oh, and now I'm directly descended from the famous Phoenix Bright, too. I think an 8-year-old just massaged my ego. Can you tell me a bit more about your daddy, Zach Grimeri? Daddy? Sure thing, Daddy. Which daddy was that again? Daddy's so amazing. The biggest store of the Troop Grimeri. And they're big. The Grimeris. They were on television a lot. Haven't seen them on much recently, come to think of it. Big magic happens when you put Zach and Val and Grimeri together, you know. Once they made a great waterfall, right there on the stage. And this giant trout swam up the giant waterfall. Let me guess, there was a giant fisherman waiting for him up top? I wish I could have seen more of Daddy's magic. Shouldn't have brought it up so soon. I wonder what'll happen to me with Daddy and Mommy both gone. Mommy? Yeah, what about Mommy? I haven't heard much about anything about Trucy's mother. But I have my magic, and a great daddy even if he is unemployed. You know, I think things are gonna be okay. I wonder if she'll talk about her mother. My iPhone seems to be derping out. The professional. So Trucy, you're a professional? Yeah, it's that thing they say. Baby frogs grow up to be frogs? They say that? I always thought it was funny though. What was? Aren't baby frogs called tadpoles? Maybe they thought it would be easier to understand for that way for kids. How stupid. Right. So in conclusion, you're a professional magician, Trucy? That's right. Well, want to see a trick? You're gonna do a magic trick? Please show me. Actually, I would like to see your trick. The future of the agency depends on it, after all. That's the spirit. Ready? Here goes. Ta-da! Hey folks, it's Mr. Hat. I gotta say, it's good to be seen. Ah! Oh, that was startling. The amazing Mr. Hat, isn't he great? A friendly neighborhood Mr. Hat at your service. He certainly makes an impression. Doesn't he? I'm so glad you like him, Daddy. My routines do get a bit heady at times. Get it? Heady? My friendly neighborhood Mr. Hat just gave me a heart attack. Amazing Mr. Hat, give me the court record. Add to the court record. Can you tell me more about your mommy, if that's okay? Mommy was so pretty. She was like an angel up on stage. On stage, you mean with your daddy? Yep. She was always there with Zach Valent, smiling. Then, she went away. Went away? It was a grand illusion. But she made a mistake. She vanished, and I guess she didn't know how to get back. Maybe so. I cried then. A lot. That's when Daddy gave me this. Here. This is your mother? She's beautiful. Thalassa Grimari. Ivan, did she look familiar to you? Poor girl, I didn't know her mommy had gone missing. Now her daddy's vanished too, right before her eyes. Hey Daddy, you won't... Don't worry, I won't vanish, I promise. Right, you can't even do magic, you're like a backup plan. Daddy always said to have a backup plan. I guess all I rate as is a backup plan. I think that's probably enough for today. Sorry to ask you so much at once all like that. It's okay, after all, we're family. I just hope you're ready. The Right Talent Agency opens tomorrow. But are we representing anyone? Me and you. That makes 2, Daddy. I think you need more than 2 to make an agency. Besides, you may be a magician, but I have no talent. Oh, I'm sure there's something you're good at. Well, when you put it that way. You mean you don't have any tricks? No old standbys? This will not do. Boy should always have a trick or 2 in his pocket. Okay, I'll think of something. That's the spirit. See you bright and early tomorrow, Daddy. Welcome to the team, Daddy-o. Team. Right. Yeah, Ivan. She had amnesia! That's how Trucy became Trucy Wright, my daughter. To be honest, I was pretty lost those first few days. Thinking back on it, it was a pretty dark time in my life. But Trucy, happy, smiling Trucy, she was my life. Siren went blind. So she would never know what her daughter looked like. Go back to the defendant lobby, I guess. 7 years ago, District Court Defendant, lobby number 2. I didn't want to have to remember that day. Though I deeply regret having to declare a verdict this way, this trial is over. Ah, Your Honor. Yes, Mr. Zack? There's one thing I wish to make clear. Today in this courtroom, you cannot declare me guilty. What are you talking about? I am talking about this. Mr. Enigmar. The defendant's escaped. Find him, quickly. Bailiff, close all exits from the building. Okay, so far, we've seen Shady is actually Zack. Shady died in the first case. The Siren is Trucy's mother. What else are we gonna find out? On the double, he must not be allowed to escape. When I came here on that fateful morning, I still had my badge, but now, like an amputated limb, I can still feel it itching. Where do I start? I don't even have enough authority to investigate. Hey, you there, sir! Down on the hands! Floor on your head! Now, now, now! Oh my god, it's this guy! I remember him! Oh, that's the big idea! My ears! No unauthorized personnel aren't allowed in here. But that would mean all unauthorized personnel are allowed. Zoink! I just say it like it is, sir, and it's usually wrong. Thrown out the precinct. Lost my friends, my girl, even my wallet. We've met before, haven't we? On a case, 2 years ago? No recollection of that, sir. Huh? For me, working on a case is always in the present progressive tense, sir. There is no past. There is only now, sir. Okay, you're the bailiff, right? Yes, sir. Court Bailiff Mike Meekins at your service, sir. I've asked to meet with the bailiff at this court who let the magician escape. Let me try to make this absolutely clear as possible for you, sir. It was me, sir. Well, you were a regular police officer once, right? Sometimes bad things happen to good people, sir. Really tells me it's a long story. Let's not go there. So, you were in charge of security at the time of the vanishing? I'm dying over here. Oh, it's hard knock life, sir. Thrown out of the precinct, lost my friends, my girl, and even my wallet. Guess I wasn't the only victim. The last time we met, you were a police officer, right? In fact, you're still wearing your uniform. I wish I didn't have to tell you this, but last year tragedy struck a rising star at the precinct. I lost my case files 4 times in 3 days. They fired me. That takes real talent, actually. They don't know what they're missing. But here I am, sir, forced to start from square one, a lowly bailiff. But your uniform. I took it with me as a souvenir the day I was fired. That can't be legal. So you were the one who let the magician get away that day. I'm dying over here. A star arises among the court bailiffs, full of hope. Then tragedy strikes. Is there anything you can tell me about it? About Zach Romeri's disappearance? Oh, the humanity! That's enough of that. Oh, my ears. Well, yes. I'd say it was around 2 p.m. when I heard a commotion in court. I opened the door to see what might be amiss. The door slams open, slam, and some guy's face is right there in front of me. Face! So you saw someone suspicious coming your way? Yes, and I, being a bailiff of vital standing, I gave chase. I chased that still cat all the way down the hall, sir. I have a diagram of the court building here. There's courtroom number 7. That's where I was, sir. All by myself, nary a friend to call my own. Okay, and which way does Zach Romeri run after bursting through the courtroom door? He went up like this and around the corner like that. So I, with no delay, ran after him with no delay. When I turned the corner, I saw the magic return in the defendant lobby. Swiftly I ran. Following him, I threw myself boldly into the room. Well, I remember it like I was right there, because it was lobby number 2, sir. You ran into this room? I don't see any place to hide in here. Believe it or not, sir, I didn't believe it. Here, in this room, the magician, gone, vanished like a puff of smoke. Except there wasn't even any smoke. He was just gone. That's impossible. Yes, that word. Oh, how many times have I said that word? Even the sound of it caused me indescribable pain. I'm dying. I'm dying over here. Okay, I won't say it again, I promise. We have to admit it's difficult to vanish into thin air. Did you search the lobby? I searched. Why the pause? There is nothing here at all, sir. That's right, nothing here, sir.
How can you talk so loud and still be hiding something? Absolutely, sir. I saw him with my own eyes. The red silk hat, that flowing cape. He ran right in here. Right inside this room. Silk hat, cape, that's Zach, alright. But sir, look at the room. There's not a single piece to hide. There is nothing I can do, but nothing, sir. What about now? Have any ideas? Sir, ideas about what exactly, sir, if you don't mind me asking? You've had quite a bit of time since then. Has nothing occurred to you at all? Do you have any ideas what trick he might have used to disappear like that? Oh my! Cyclops, I should have known. Oh, how I missed these. Okay, Mr. Meekins. What do you know? Spit it out. Hey, what's with the atmosphere in here all of a sudden? You know something, and I'm gonna find out what. Zach Romeri vanished from this room. How'd he do it? How, sir? Well, I can't say, sir. Why are you so nervous if you aren't hiding something? Well, sir, at the time, sir, I was here and listen, it was impossible. What could such a little girl possibly do anyway? What did you just say? Sir, did I just say something, sir? No, you screamed into the megaphone of yours. There was someone else in the room, wasn't there? So I'm gonna have to invoke my right to remain in the state of not talking. It's okay, Meekins. You don't have to tell me who Zack's accomplice was. I know who was here in this room that day. Or it was Trucy. Sir, I've never seen that girl until just the other day. Mr. Meekins, I'm not buying it. Sir! Sir, that day, she was here, in that room, sir. But he wasn't. You mean, you chased her into this room, but not him? Sir, in my days as a police officer, literally days, I learned a thing of you. Okay, just one thing. But it was how to not mistake a girl for a 7-foot tall magician. 7 feet? Zack isn't that tall, is he? You have a point. I find it hard to imagine that anyone would mistake a little girl for Zack or Mary. But you saw something. And therein lies the trick. I think you know what it was, Mr. Meekins. Tell me, does this trick look familiar? What's that? The girl's favorite trick, the amazing Mr. Hat. She uses it in her show down at the Wonder Bar. Have you been to the Wonder Bar? So, it wasn't a waking dream, was it, sir? Come again? That night on stage, I saw a vision, except it wasn't a vision. It was a hat. An amazing Mr. Hat, he really exists. I remember it clearly. The details are a little vague. Zack or Mary exited the courtroom. I gave chase and cornered him in the corner room, sir. Zack or Mary, don't even think you can escape Meekins. Down on your hands, floor. Hello? Something the matter, Mr. Mayor? No, that is... There, I... Currently chasing a suspect, sir. Zack or Mary, do you know him? Oh, I love Zack or Mary. His magic is the best. I'm his biggest fan. I see, that's why you're in that costume you're wearing. Anyway, that's the very same Zack that came into this room. But no one's been in here except me. Well, he has to be in here somewhere. Under the sofa, in the trash can, behind the painting, under the rug. So, Trucy was his accomplice. Imagine my astonished surprise when, 1 week later, I just happened to walk into the bar and see him, Mr. Hat. I couldn't believe my own eyes. Wow, I thought it had all been a long dream. A dream that lasted a week. But it wasn't the magician who suddenly disappeared, it was Mr. Hat. Magic panties. Though it seems complex, what really happened that day was simple. You were standing by the door, and out came Zack. But that wasn't all. Another person got in the act, and she was standing in front of lobby number 2. Along with Mr. Hat. And that's the beauty of it, isn't it? So, while you were standing in the shock and amazement, the magician rounds the corner, and most likely runs through the closest door into lobby number 1. This is where you came in. You turned the corner in rather lukewarm pursuit, and at that very moment, Trucy ran into lobby number 2. And all she had to do was tuck away the amazing Mr. Hat. Sir, I only lost sight of him for the briefest of moments. Then I saw that cape, Zack or Mary's red cape, fluttering like a cape. Astounding, sir. All my days of posing queries and making inquiries and chasing queries wasted. It was as if I could see them melting away like ice cream cone left by the side of the road to die. Or the scattered remains of a messily eaten chocolate parfait. Such sweet sorrows. I'm sorry. I had no idea how much you'd suffered on account of this case. Yeah. It's an honor, sir. I've apologized to people many, many times. Sometimes more than once. But this is the first time anyone's ever apologized to me. Actually, about that girl. I'm sort of her guardian now. Is that so? Sir, you should know that I harbor no ill feelings whatsoever in my harbor. Okay. I let the defendant escape, so that's the stone cold truth. Just another step on my way from singing the blues to wearing the blues. Someday, sir, I'll be standing side by side with the great Detective Gumshoe. Mr. Meekins, this is a free ticket to the show at the Wonder Bar. If you want, It's an honor, sir. Sir, I can't count the number of things I've had taken from me, sir. But no one's ever given me anything for free. Right, I'll see you in the court next time, sir.
I look forward to it. All eyes were on Zachary that day in court, until his mysterious disappearance. Now part of the mystery has been revealed, but the magician remained out of sight. It would be 7 years before I would meet him again. The future's unlocked! The Borscht Bowl Club. Present day, Borscht Bowl Club. I'll be taking my leave now. Still have some work to do back at the office. And I guess I'll go back to my piano. To be honest, it's better when you aren't playing. This frigid culinary dungeon almost feels comfortable. Later then. 2 hours left on my shift. Wonder if we'll get any customers tonight. Ahem. You know who I am? Oh my god. Who I am? But if you hum it, I can play it. Just kidding. I don't do requests. How about a different sort of request? You see, I play cards. Oh, a customer. I was just hoping someone would come in and save me from a night at the Keys. I see a crew competition. I have heard the Borscht Bowl Club is the place for this. Now I see the rumor is true. And this is a friend of yours? Ah, don't mind me. This is a friendly neighborhood Suesman. Ah, he will not be playing tonight. When his business is finished, I shall send him home. This competition will be between us, no others. The reporter knew more. The right talent agency represents 2 artists, and I'm number 2. I play piano. Well, sort of. It's actually just a front for my real talent, which is playing poker. Don't ask me how I got started. I don't remember. But I'm good. Real good. It didn't take longer for the rumors to get around. Go to the Borscht Bowl Club, we've won a real game. That guy's never lost. People don't come here to tickle the ivory. They come to watch me play cards. Is this CD poker club? No, it's a restaurant. We don't play for high stakes. There's no money involved. But real players carry cash, and they're always thirsty. It's a handy source of income for the sole club owner. Then let's compete. I'll take you to the room. The hideout, yes. But before we go, yes? Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Shady Smith. And I'm Bruchel, Spark Bruchel, news reporter. Oh, No. Phoenix Wright. Huh? You must always look a man in the eye when you make your introductions. You still do not know who I am? Have we met? Today, in this courtroom, you cannot declare me guilty. What are you talking about? I'm talking about this. Mr. Enigbar! The defendant's escaped. Find him, quick! Bailiff, close all exits from the building. On the double, he must not be allowed to escape.